guys, Literary Prepper back again. Wanted to talk to you guys today about something that came into our lives during the 80s and 90s that I would recommend that everyone go out as soon as humanly possible and buy yourself a pair. Doc Marten boots. Now, these are just brilliant. They're known to be worn by all sorts of delightful subcultures. I believe Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries wore a white pair of Doc Martens when she got married. Something that I'm very jealous of because my mother said no, I had to wear real shoes. So yeah, anyway, I've had these for about 14 years now. I actually got mine because there was a girl a couple of years ahead of me at school who had a pair, and she was the only person in the school at that time who had a pair, and I just thought they were like, when I was at school, we were in like, you know, this little nothing of a town in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have any like big sort of shops or anything around. We had like a supermarket and a pub and, you know, a couple of other bits and pieces, but we didn't have any like major shoe shops or anything like that. So I actually had to like drive to the Gold Coast and look around a number of shops in order to buy mine. I really value these because they did take a lot for me to get them because we just live so far away from everything. Now I'm in Brisbane and you can walk into, you know, every second shoe shop and you can find them. But these were also quite expensive for me, like, you know, being in high school when I bought them. So these back then I got on sale for, I think they were about $165 if I remember correctly, but they are brilliant. They took me about 6 weeks to break in. As you can sort of see, that's where my ankle usually sits, so they do sort of mold to your feet really well. So comfy once you actually get past that sort of initial break-in stage, because they're hard, hard leather, so they're great. So why do I say that everyone needs a pair of these? Aside from the fact they are hard leather, they are tough as boots. In Australia we have all sorts of bitey things that want to kill us. It's a fact. So the bitey things though generally have short little fangs or short teeth. So if you take the Sydney funnel web for example, if you get bitten by a funnel web spider, then generally speaking you've got about 15 minutes if it bites you directly on the skin. You've got about 15 minutes before you will die if you don't get some sort of anti-venom into you. Now, brown snakes are very similar. I don't know what the time is between being bitten directly and dying if there's no sort of intervention. But again, if it bites you on the foot and or up to, you know, this sort of comes up to sort of about here on me, bites you sort of, you know, on the foot or ankle or whatever, and you're wearing these, first of all, their fangs may not even penetrate the leather, so you may not have a problem at all. But if they do penetrate the leather and they do happen to bite you through these, because you're not copping the full direct hit, it will get you a little bit more time. You still need to seek medical help, and it's still a really crappy situation to be in, but better than being directly bitten. So you need to get a hold of something very similar to this, if not your own pair of Doc Marten boots. I feel like everyone needs their own pair of Doc Marten boots because, you know, frankly, I think these were my first love. But yeah, everyone needs to get something similar to this, because if you're in a situation where you are on foot and you have to veer off a council footpath, even walking along some council footpaths, you have to go into the bush, into some sort of swamp, into, you know, basically any sort of, you know, vegetation-y, you know, unkempt terrain type thing, then you need something that's going to keep sharp things away from you. Let's face it, there are a lot of druggies out there. You need to like stop things like needles. Look at how thick that sole is. Hey, So you need something that is going to stop things like needles from, you know, penetrating into your feet. I actually have a friend who had, you know, had that sort of thing happen. Wearing thongs, stepped on a needle, had to go through all sorts of tests to make sure it didn't contract anything. So you don't want that to happen to you in an emergency situation. So yeah, something to keep the beasties away, something to keep sharp things away, something to keep your feet dry, because if you are in an emergency situation where you are walking or running somewhere, and I have played soccer in these, you can run in these, then if your feet are compromised, then you can insert another F word to describe what your situation is going to, you know, look like. So yeah, they're not cheap, but there are some things that when you're, you know, prepping for, you know, pretty much any sort of situation where you're going to be out of your home for whatever reason, you need to invest well. So never cheap out on things like knives. Look for sales by all means, but do not cheap out on your knives, do not cheap out on your footwear, and do not cheap out on your medical supplies. Things like, you know, food, you can buy really cheap cans, you can buy, you know, cheap dried beans, you can get all sorts of things for really cheap when you're looking at your food preps. Similarly, when you're looking at, you know, seeds and gardening bits and pieces, you can often pick up things that are sort of like for like in a cheaper version. Tools you can't cheap out on. You think things that are like actually genuinely going to save your butt from something you don't want to be cheaping out on. And these maybe will possibly, you know, save you in a situation. As I said, you can run in these, so it doesn't matter what surface you're running on, you can run in these. It will, you know, people have killed for shoes. So that's not me being a girl about it. But similarly with getting decent shoes, you can't really see from there, but these are not the original shoelaces. These are actually two normal shoelaces that I have tied together down here and then just relaced the boots when the original laces broke. So you need to sort of have a think about that as well. Have some sort of string on hand, hoochie cord, spare shoelaces, you know, ideally. But yeah, so you can either, you know, buy these online from somewhere if you're sure about your shoe size. I prefer to try shoes on when I buy them just to make absolutely sure. Or, you know, there's any number of shoe stores where you can actually walk in and, you know, physically buy them. But yeah, definitely if you're, you know, wanting to add something of genuine value to your survival preps, Doc Martens all the way. As I said, I've had these bad boys for 14 years and, you know, I'm definitely not looking at getting rid of them anytime soon. But I am looking at buying myself a second pair very shortly because they are just brilliant boots and I would highly, highly recommend these to anyone. Anywho, that's me for today. I feel like I'm about to lose my voice. So as usual, if you want to support us, like, share, subscribe. If you do subscribe, hit the little bell so that you get all of our future notifications. You get you know, told when we're uploading videos and whatnot. If you want to contribute to the channel, you can find us on Patreon and, you know, throw us a couple of bucks here and there. But for now, that's yeah, that's me. Go buy some docs.